What's new in Kenilworth? Kenilworth launches Idex identity indexing, providing a simpler and more scalable mechanism than authentication for identifying users. It also refines safeguarding and adds a Google sign-in button to the user login pages. There is also a new category for Skype. To upgrade to Kenilworth, navigate to System, Maintenance, Updates and Releases. Click Check for Updates to ensure that you have the latest available releases displayed. Kenilworth can be found under Releases, New Functionality and Major Updates. What is Idex? Idex is a way for Smoothwall to know who is logged in where on your network. This allows the Smoothwall to apply the appropriate filtering and firewall settings based on who you are and your group membership, not just the device you happen to be using. Why use Idex? Idex identity indexing offers an alternative to authentication, which is simple to deploy via group policy, simple to configure with no reliance on Smoothwall being joined to Active Directory, able to attribute all web traffic to logged-in users so there's no authentication exceptions, resilient to external problems on the network, such as the loss of a server or network link to the Active Directory domain, transparent to the end user. There's no login prompts or messages displayed to the user. Idex is a background service, so no more user authentication calls to your help desk. Scalable. Idex centrally identifies users across many different independent domains. Smoothwall can replicate identity information across a Smoothwall cluster, removing yet more complex setup. Why use an alternative to authentication? Traditional authentication methods such as Kerberos and NTLM are precise in verifying user identity, but similarly are complex to set up. The Smoothwall needs to be joined to the Active Directory. Browsers and web applications need to support NTLM or Kerberos, or an authentication error will occur. This requires complex authentication exceptions to be set up and maintained, causing administrative overhead. How is Idex different? To understand how Idex is different, let's first take a look at how traditional authentication works with Smoothwall. When a user logs on, your Active Directory domain controller grants the user permission to use the network. With traditional authentication, such as NTLM or Kerberos, every time a user makes a web request, the Smoothwall queries the Active Directory domain controller to ensure that the user has permission. It then retrieves the web content according to the firewall and filtering policies. This constant need to seek verification from the domain controller is highly secure, but is complex to set up and can cause problems if there is a loss of connection to the controller, leading to authentication errors. Idex Directory records the username, groups, IP address, and logged-in timestamp for a user and integrates with the Smoothwall services that require identity information, such as the Guardian and Firewall. It replicates data across nodes, so all servers have access to the current Idex data and can apply actions before a client first connects. There are two ways that Idex can gather information. Idex Client can be installed on any Active Directory domain-joined devices, including Windows and Apple Mac OS workstations. It can easily be deployed and configured via Active Directory group policy and is transparent to the end user. Idex Client interrogates the workstation firsthand as to who is logged in to the device at any given time, and so it's not reliant on a connection to domain controllers to identify users. When a user makes a web request, Idex Client forwards the logged-in user's username, groups, and web traffic to the Smoothwall. With no need to verify the user's permissions directly with the domain controller, the web content is returned according to the user's firewall and filtering policies. Idex Client also enables you to identify users behind NAT devices or logged in using fast user switching or terminal services. Idex Agent is an application which runs on Windows Active Directory domain controllers and can be deployed using Active Directory group policy. It monitors the Windows Event Audit log on the domain controller and notifies Idex Directory of the logged-in user's username and IP address as soon as they log on. This means that when a user makes a web request, the Smoothwall already knows the identity of the user and so can apply appropriate filtering and firewall rules instantly. Again, with no need to communicate directly with the Active Directory domain controller. You can use Idex Client or Agent with Idex Directory or both together. Where can I use Idex? Idex can be used for any Active Directory domain-joined users and devices, including Windows and Apple Mac OS workstations. It isn't intended for remote or offsite filtering or for BYOD such as Android mobile. Will it work alongside my existing authentication methods? If you already have a trusted authentication method you are using, Idex can work alongside it. There's no need to switch at this point, and existing methods will not be deprecated. Welcome to Idex. Idex is Smoothwall's recommended identification method for new installations. It is lightweight and easy to configure and manage compared to traditional authentication methods. Idex enables easy identification of individual users to help with identification needs and scales well over large installations, replicating information between Smoothwalls with no need for complex setup. Filter safeguarding reports by group. In this release, we have added the option for you to filter safeguarding reports by group. This makes reviewing them easier by grade level, for example. Date Picker. Running reports for specific days has been a much requested feature. This gives you the ability to run the report for any date you wish as long as it's within the 31-day range. Printing reports. You can now print an individual user's breaches or the entire report if you wish. This is an easy way to export the report to PDF. In the printing dialog, simply select Save as PDF to save your report in a PDF format. Easier to read formatting. We understand that URLs are not the easiest to read or understand. Where possible, we will show you the title of the site or YouTube video highlighted first to give you a view on what the individual browsed without you having to look up each URL. We recommend you have HTTPS Decrypt and Inspect enabled to get the most out of this feature. Increased group limit. We have lifted the limit on the number of groups you can configure your safeguarding alerts for. This gives you more flexibility and also helps if you look after a large number of schools. Google Sign-In. The Google Sign-In button has been brought to the user login pages, allowing you to add the Google Sign-In button to your SSL or non-SSL login page for G Suite authentication purposes. Use your Google credentials for single sign-on, one click and you're in. Skype, a new category to help you allow Skype for users in your organization in a simple and secure way.